All right, another beautiful day in the garage here. Got the truck pulled in. It's a 2007 Chevy 3500 Classic with the Duramax and the 6-speed Allison. And I've got a little issue going on underneath the chassis here. This is the transmission cross member. And you can see there's the mount up there where it mounts to the transmission. And right here is a big bend in the cross member. And that was actually done last week at the tire shop. So it looks like they came in here with their jack and lifted up right here. You can see, the round pad of their jack or their lift, and it bent that cross member up, which also tilted the transmission up, which lifted this exhaust up and has it hitting some of my heat shields further on back down the system. And I wanted to go ahead and just replace this whole cross member. From what I can tell, there's a through bolt here with a nut on top. There's two of those there. There's two on the other side. And then right up there is the bolt for the transmission. There's one and another one on this side. So I'm gonna try to just take out those 6 bolts, drop this whole thing. I'll put a jack underneath the transmission here and a board. And then I've got my other cross member and skid plate and everything that's ready to go on. And I actually bought a new aftermarket Energy Suspension transmission mount, so I'll show you that as well. So we'll get started here. First thing I'm going to do is just douse the crap out of everything with PB Blaster. Try to get it all loosened up. I did this a couple days ago. Let it soak in. I'm doing it again now. Looks like it's 18mm is the bolt head, and same with the nut. That one's 15mm up there where it goes into the transmission. Alright, I was able to break that loose and get that out with just a normal 3/8 inch ratchet. Check the other side. Alright. Okay, here's my 2 mounts. As you can see, this is the new one that I bought. It's used, came from a junkyard somewhere. I paid 160 bucks for it, I think, shipped. And it came with the hardware and also the skid plate right there. Got a new skid plate for this one. Here's the Energy Suspension Polyurethane Mount that I bought. Instead of another OEM stock, they were about the same price. So one thing that was a little odd about this new Energy Suspension Mount here was it came with this extra plate, and it says in the instructions to put this plate on top like that, and it doesn't push together tight enough by your fingers to close that gap right there. It just doesn't close, but it says to mount it like that with the existing bolts up through into the transmission. So from down there to the top looks to be about 4 3/4 inches. Which is about where that is without this extra plate. And that's right at 4 3/4. And that's right at 4 3/4. So I'm not gonna use this plate. Now I went ahead and I mounted this with the included hardware up through these holes and just kind of loosely mounted that with the 3/8 inch bolts. And so I'm just gonna stick it up there like this and I don't know, probably put a bolt in here and here, and then get this transmission mount tightened up. And once I get all the bolts in, I'll just start cranking everything down. So I guess a quick thing before I go ahead and install this on here is I want to clean all the mud out from here so that that new nut can sit down in there properly. There's a lot in there. Wow, look at that. That's probably at least 10, 15 pounds of mud and dirt and gravel I just pulled out of the frame rail there. Just a couple feet on each side. So there's a little marking on here that says forward. It's got an arrow facing forward, but if that's rusted off or you can't see that, where this opening is, you can stick your hand through here. That goes forward. You can also tell because it has these bolts on the front here where the skid plate goes for the transfer case. So I got all the main mounting bolts in, thumb tight. Now we're looking up here at these bolts. So that's where I'm going to use the stock hardware back in there. Those were 15 millimeter. Alright, so I went ahead and torqued those down. They had the smallest holes, so the least amount of play. So I figured I'd get them torqued down. There's still a little bit of play in the other stuff, so I think it just is where it is, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of get everything else tightened up here and call it good, probably. The holes inside for the bottom mount are, I believe they're 9/16, and they had a washer and a lock washer on them. So you know, while I was under here already working, I figured I might crank these torsion bars a little bit. I turned them up one turn last time I was working on this truck on the brake lines, and it really made no difference. I watched another video and a guy turned it like 5 turns, which is more than I want to do, because I don't want it to be like level, because when I tow a trailer then my nose will be sticking up in the air. So I've already cranked it once, 1 full turn. I'm going to crank them another 2 turns and see where that goes. So I'll have 3 turns total. So it's basically just, I took some weight off the torsion bars off the wheels by jacking it up by the frame, and it's an 18 millimeter bolt right here by the torsion bar I'll show you, and I'm going to go ahead and turn those 2 more turns. So here's the torsion bar coming back. It comes into this mount, and right there is an 18 millimeter bolt, and there's just one on each side, and I'll crank those another 2 turns. In lifts it, out lowers it. 2. And that's all there is to it. Oh yeah, we've actually got a little clearance there. You can see that bump stop, and I don't know if you can see it there or not, but there looks to be about a 3/16 inch clearance or so from the A-arm to the bump stop, whereas before those were always bearing directly on that stop. So that's good. I'm happy about that. That should make those bump stops last longer too. All right, first drive here. I can definitely tell the exhaust is not rattling on the heat shield anymore, so I know this transmission crossmember is flatter than my other one, and I can tell that the front is up a little bit higher. I mean, not a lot, but I can just tell where my hood is and how well I can see over it. It feels like it's a little higher. And I can feel now too, it feels a little bit like a softer ride, like the torsion bars are actually doing more work rather than the A-arms just sitting on the bump stops. So that wasn't too bad, really. I finished that in a little under 2 hours. I did take it to a collision repair shop that had like a frame rack, and I wanted them just to put it up on the rack and wrap a chain around it and, you know, pull it back down straight, because it doesn't need to be perfect. But they said it'd be at least like $250 just to put it on the rack and look at it. And they didn't even quote me a price to buy a new crossmember and put it in, but I'm sure it would have been $500 to $1,000 or more. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this video, if it helps you out, go ahead and subscribe. And I've got a lot more videos on equipment maintenance and maintaining this truck and things. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.